Welcome to Not Starving Artists, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast series that I'm calling Industry Experts, How to Spend Money on Your Artistic Career. Now, this series is going to give you, actors, creatives, those of you in the artistic industries, opinions from a panel of people who have been in the industry for a while on their opinions and thoughts of the best way to use your money to grow your artistic career. As a money coach, I'm going to teach you how to save money without a consistent paycheck. I'm going to teach you how to create longevity in your career via financial stability. I'm going to make sure you have the money available to you to not only spend money on your career now, but be able to put towards future you so you can continue to be an artist long term. And these interviews are going to bring in opinions and thoughts from people in this industry about the best ways to use that money. We could spend so much money on our artistic career, on headshots, on reels, on classes, on coaches, on flying ourselves out to auditions, on putting ourselves up for gigs, on producing our own work. There's so many ways to spend our money that we need to be intentional about which ways are going to feel best for us and give us the best return on our investment. And what's tricky about artistic careers is it's not like you spend money on something and that automatically equals a booking or that automatically equals a callback, right? It's a lot more gray area than that, right? And so this panel of experts, these interviews that you're going to hear every other week, we're going to release episodes in this series. What you're going to hear is different people's opinions from different areas of the field. And it's going to help give you a grounding in what's actually worth it. What do you feel is actually worth it to spend your money on? And what are the ways, because it's also really easy as artists, as creatives, to not want to spend money on your creative career, right? Because you don't see that immediate ROI and it can feel scary to part with your dollars. And so this is also going to help give you a grounding on like, how would it feel good to spend money on my career? How would it feel good to put money towards my artistry in the same way that I put money towards other areas of my life? So I hope you enjoy this series. We've got some awesome guests lined up. Enjoy, and happy creating. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Not Starving Artist podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to Brian Herrick today as part of our Industry Expert series. So Brian is a talent agent and the CEO of Luedtke Agency, based in New York City, and works with Travis at that agency. Now, I'm going to let Brian give you the whole backstory of how he got to where he is, but I just want to plug Luedtke Agency, all of their clients working on Broadway, regional theater, TV shows, national commercials, cruise ships, like if it's in the entertainment world, they have a client who's worked on it. So Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome.
Thanks, Brock. Excited to be here.
Great. So as we start, I just want to ask you to start off. Why did you say yes to this interview today?
Yeah, totally. And this is a too long don't read, but grew up in a very underfunded household that didn't know what arts was and didn't want to fund it. And I haven't had help from my parents in any capacity from the day I stepped out of the door for college. No fiscal assistance on auditioning, of paying my rent, of figuring out the way that the world works, especially in something as gatekeepy as what performing can be. So I'm very impassioned I'm very proud of kind of where my professional journey has taken me, especially in pursuit of financial stability. And just the idea of wanting to guide young performers or performers of all ages, just towards something that's sustainable, and something that is fiscally motivated, is very enticing to me.
Yeah, I love that. And sustainability, I think, is the name of the game in the artistic world. It's like the longer you can just be in the industry, that I think that's like the name of success, right?
Yeah,
And money's a
no,
part of
that
that.
that eventually something's going to hit if you can just grin and bear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I know when I was reading your bio, it said that you were a performer, right, when you were younger. So can you talk about how you got to where you are? Like, what was that trajectory for you as an artist?
Yeah, so I, like I said, grew up in a very underfunded Italian household in South Jersey, between Philly, Atlantic City, major performance metros. Was a kid who could never mind their own business, and loved looking at people's resumes and going like, what do you do? Which was like the early version of judging, but we didn't know that's what it was yet. I went, did my state school thing, went to the city, going through an educational program that wasn't guiding me professionally in any capacity, and without a background of personal life of anybody guiding me professionally, and kind of unfortunately navigating a very sponge-like brain for a very convoluted industry. And so yeah, I mean, I did my performances, did my gigs, did my stocks, did my tours, did my cruises, had a good old time. But was getting back and was finding that like with no solid surface, that I wasn't able to just feel steady and feel like this, there was more to this other than gigging out. And I knew that wasn't going to be enough for me for the rest of my life. So with the passion of being a know-it-all kid, kind of coming back to fruition, I said, I love bossing my friends around. I love the who, what, when, where, why of the industry. I found that to be fascinating, and just kind of putting together the puzzle piece of every theater, what their season is, who are the major players, and kind of what I can do to be more actively involved. And so I said, let's stay in the industry and let's try that. Applied on a whim to a small manager's office by the name of Jaime Baker Management. Jaime Baker does a lot of commercial voiceover, was great, got thrown into that world headfirst and learned a lot, just by doing. Jaime was like, I know you love theater. You're welcome to start a roster and do the thing. And that's not something we specialize in, but if that's your passion, you go for it. And I did. I kind of threw myself into it head first. That was 2016, and I've never kind of really looked back. In some ways. I found out I didn't suck at it. Found there to be something enticing about an agency that was franchised through equity and SAG rather than a management office. So that's kind of where my passion started to lead me out of manager world into agency world. Worked under Penny Luedtke for a while, as a junior agent for her. And I met this guy there named Travis Ferguson, and Travis is the original founder of the Hell's Kitchen agency. And he's like, I'm going to go start this thing. Do you want to come with me? And what he said to me at the time was, and what the office functioned as from 2017 to 2020, was an office that solely functioned to represent disabled actors, trans actors, or actors on the gender spectrum in some capacity. Just trying to give this platform to this underrepresented, disenfranchised group through media. And that's what it was. And that's what it was for a long time. I was like, I need somewhere that's already established for now. I need to be just kind of learning from someone with more experience from me than now. But thank you. Stuck there for a little bit, transferred over to the Price Group under Lisa Price, where I worked with her for a little bit, until COVID hit. And if we're being super honest, I didn't know if I wanted to be an agent. I didn't know what I wanted. I found I don't like having a boss.
You're talking to someone who's self-employed, so
yeah, truly, truly. So I was like, I found, and this is not shade on anybody I've worked for or worked with. I just was like, I hate like just feeling like I have to curate a communication style that doesn't feel inherently me.
Sure.
And I always found that I'm just very, for better or for worse, I have my own method of expressing myself that I find works for me. And so I was like, I don't know that I want to be answering to someone for the rest of my life. And I knew that like just hopping into operating my own office wasn't going to work. So I was like, I don't know, but I'll take this job at Lisa's office kind of as like a placeholder until the next gig or something. Maybe I'll go back on cruise. I don't know. So really, I took Lisa's job as like I guess I'll do this for now. And then COVID hit, and I was going from like sitting in an office that I found to be entry level for me to like talking to her clients who were stuck on cruise ships in France, wondering if they would die there. You know what I mean? And not to be dramatic about it, but like it was very
No, it was a pandemic though, so we can be dramatic about
yeah,
it.
it felt very I Am Legend. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. And so like it I found that the one thing I was able to kind of give my life purpose in that moment was like I turned into a human rights lawyer in a way,
Oh my God,
in a
yeah.
really, really gay way. But it's like I went from like this might be something I can do to like really helping people survive and then eventually get back on stage and like restructure what we thought the early stages of this industry could be.
Mhm.
Eventually like COVID caught up, I got laid off, and I reached back out to Travis Ferguson and I said, "Hey, do you need anybody?" And he was like, "Yeah, girl, like I need somebody." He was like, "I'm not agenting at all anymore." He was in Portland taking care of family at the time. And he was like, "I'm actually not agenting at all. So if you want to take over the show," Travis is always very kind and very affirming of like, "I believe in what you do. And if you want to do the thing, go for it." And that was July 2020, and that's how things have been since. The first year was kind of adding to the identities and abilities of who we represent, just to make sure that we have enough of a foundation that we can continue to operate this platform for all everybody accordingly, but also expanding some of our reach to major network TV endeavors. Obviously, that's not the background of what I do. I'm a data person first and foremost.
Yeah.
But since theaters come back, I mean, it's been a dream in a lot of ways. Finding myself catapulted into spaces that I just always dreamed of as a performer. Um, it's very cool. As a foundation of the way I operate, a good core of the roster are my friends. They're people I perform with. And consequently, we talk as peers. They're not my boss. I'm not their boss. We're just two people operating with a similar goal, which is to get the gig. And I find that that's something that transcends into like showcase season and all of the accoutrements that come with that. But what I did for a long time and what I want to get back to is I also recognize that like we're capitalizing off of disenfranchised communities by representing actors that identify with those communities. So a good core of what we're also doing is kind of making sure that the grassroots are still advocacy. So we try to devote as much time as we can, at least through our socials, that people are going to come to our space to see what we're doing. We might as well leave them with like a little tidbit of like regular, politically charged, whether it's industry centric or not, ideas and sentiments that align with our views. Which kills a lot of birds with one stone, because then nobody who's disjointed from those views
Weed them out.
kind of slips through the cracks and gets in, and that's not the type of artist we would align with. Yeah, I mean it's been a blessing of 5 years, and like I said, we want to get back to more of that and kind of looking towards expansion, hopefully at some point soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. My favorite part in everyone's story is when you hit the moment of like, and then COVID happened. And it's like, and then yes, what happened? So for you, do you feel like that's the moment, like when COVID happened and you, right, the layoff happened? What, like, when was the moment where you were like, oh, I love this specific arena of what I do?
Yeah, so what's funny is it still sucked for like 8 months. I became my own boss. It sucked. Like, I don't know if we could say sucked ass, but like that's what it
You can
was.
say whatever you want on this podcast.
It was fucking terrible for like eight
Yeah.
months because at some point, like I was like still doing odd jobs because, and I had never gotten paid because like no one was doing anything. And I looked at my husband and I was like, not that I'm not like a money driven person first and foremost, like not going to complain about it, but like I'm getting the gigs is the main thing. But I was
Yeah.
like, do people make money doing this? And then it happened kind of all at once. Of like I would probably say July 2021, all of a sudden, everybody was getting called in for everything all at once, all the time.
Mm.
And like I went from serving and like getting yelled at by casting directors all of a sudden overnight. And like
Yeah.
it's cool. It was just really like affirming. And then my friends were thanking me for getting them employed again for the first time after a long time. And we've all been in the position where we didn't book for like a year and then we feel that relief. And then all of a sudden I'm getting that joy, that affirmation from dozens of people in a matter of a couple months. And that's when I said, oh, okay. And then the money started coming in. I said, oh, double okay. I guess this doesn't suck as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's the candidly, I mean, I think I grew up in a very like New Jersey Italian household where people were
Mm.
yelling and screaming, and I'm an emotional child accordingly. And so like there's a constant like mediation of ego that I have to navigate from full 360 of all positions. But I find that totally to be blinded by just the joy that comes through like being able to help people achieve their dreams, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
And,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So with all of that, like finding this thing that like is like a heart calling as well as like a artistic calling with the starving artist trope, right? And what you've been kind of touching on throughout this of how you grew up, right? And how you felt about money and not having that financial assistance and wanting that stability. I would love to know one, how you relate to the starving artist trope, or just like what comes up when you think about that phrase. And
Yeah.
then do you still like, was there a switch for you where you were like, oh, I don't feel that anymore? Or when you like achieved that sense of stability, or what still goes through your head? I'm going to throw all those questions at
No,
you.
no, I totally get it. I was a kid who at 21 I am an older soul is the way I'll phrase it. At 35 when I was in college people weren't doing video submissions. And
Yeah.
so I was kind of like I was trying to lead the pack. It got me a certain caliber of jobs, but I was like I can't afford to even from New Jersey go up to the city and sit at an open call and not work, or at the
Yeah.
very least just afford to go with out compromising my involvement in whatever theater I was involved with at the time. And
Mm.
so the idea of like the accessibility of auditions being a right, being a privilege versus a privilege is fascinating. But the good news is that I I made that work for me, and it's kind of turned into the cornerstone of the industry. Is like I was trying to make accessibility of digital auditioning a regular medium, and now it is the foundation of the industry, and I feel much more apt to be guiding artists in that world accordingly.
Mm. I love
Yeah.
that.
And then like yeah, I mean it's definitely was starving, definitely there's a tough thing of like inflated ego leading personality in this industry, and well, it's
Mm.
omnipresent. It's part of the world, and we all have to operate with our chest forward and our shoulders back, and we have to go. We know our worth without being narcissistic about it. There is something really humbling about coming from the starving artist world and matriculating into this side of the industry where I'm like, I have so much more knowledge inherently than 99.9% of performers just because of the information I am privy to inherently, which is again is a privilege. You know what I mean? That's just kind of in the nature of the position, not to slight anybody's like kind of inherent ability to navigate, but it's I feel so much more knowledgeable, and yet consequently I feel just as how do I phrase this? I feel so much more humbled by it.
Mm.
So it's interesting coming from the performing world, coming and building myself up to be what I wanted my career to be. I feel just as entry level as I did when I was working on small non-X stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
It does, definitely. And I think it's so interesting. I feel like any person at any level of anything that you talk to, right? It's always like, oh, that's kind of a collective. Like there's no one who's like, and I feel completely knowledgeable and totally confident.
Oh, there are.
Well, yes, but are they actually, right? The people who
Yeah,
actually
no,
have the
no,
stuff to back it up, right?
1,000%. I find the more that we're peacock feathering, the less
Artist.
of a stable foundation there probably is in some regard. But that's life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Right.
America. This is what that
Das Merca.
is.
Okay, so I would love to now go into because you obviously work with many different kinds of clients, many different types of mediums, and so you also being an artist yourself, I want to talk about Investing in your career, because we're in this weird industry where you could spend so much money on your career and have no traction. And then
Yep.
there's also a world in which you could spend $0 on your career and get
Yes.
so much traction, right? Because there's such a luck factor. It's not a one-to-one, I spend money on this and so I get this result, which I
Yeah.
think is very infuriating for the artistic community, like wanting to have that equation of like, if I do this, if I spend money on this, I will get this.
Yeah.
So I want to ground this conversation in that. So I'd love to know for you if there were like top three things that you think an artist should be prioritizing putting their money towards if they only have a certain amount to spend on their career in a year, what would those three things be?
Yeah. So I think, at least from my standpoint, if I'm representing an artist, I remind them I'm a marketing manager at its core. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing, is taking the product of you, shaping it to be as the prettiest picture as possible, and going, hey, casting director, they're applicable for this project and they are viable at a Broadway level.
Mm,
So the easiest ways we can do that is access to media that basically showcases their ability to assimilate accordingly. And I think that a quick slap fix of what that media looks like depends on the person, but I find that the most universal answer are the kids that do the best, and the reason that a lot of those like top tier BFA program kids end up matriculating quicker is because they have programs that have cultivated, carefully cultivated, and curated an ability to digitalize their entire rep book.
mm,
And I think the more that you're able to get that self tape set up, structured on a specific wall with a nice background where it doesn't drive you crazy to bang out the tapes, not just the tapes, but also to bang out getting a few cuts on tape so that it's all ready to go. The second an agent or a casting director asks for it, I think it just streamlines that process for your sanity.
mm,
And in that regard, obviously, like the backgrounds, the self tape setups on Amazon are very easily accessible in a way that they didn't used to be. But if you're asking somebody for like a quick Christmas gift, the hot take is like unlimited access to musicnotes.com or something like that that gives you access to rep at a moment's notice. Also,
mm.
just like a quick tip is like if you are looking for a new audition cut and you're like, okay, well, I've been called in for Evan Hansen a million times. What's the cut that they go to for that particular thing? Obviously, if it's not oversaturated, that's the priority. But it's like if there is a specific cut that you know casting directors are looking for, getting that integrated into your materials, I think is a smart way to go. So
Mhm.
the too long don't read is digital materials and rep digitalized rep that is as palatable as possible.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from that is spend money on getting a good self-tape setup, whatever that means for you and fits in your apartment, and whatever you need to pay to get access to material, right? So like for my straight actors, right? I got to represent the straight acting girlies.
Yep.
New Play Exchange, get on New Play Exchange, musicnotes.com,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep,
That's
yep.
what I'm hearing. But then what I think is interesting that you said is about 85% of everything you just said is just you on your own time doing your work for no dollars.
Yes, yeah, no, and it's a constant. If you want to assess the dollar to like amount invested
Yeah.
ratio, it's a sad game. It'll never be
Yeah.
what you want it to be. With that, the hot take is professional coaches that have duality in them. I used and send people to Ethan Paulini is the current artistic director of Weatherman Theater, but he is a professional coach that specializes in audition coaching, monologue coaching, and career coaching. And I think people that have duality and actual experience behind the table in that regard are great. If there's networking to be done through said coachings, if you're investing back into your career, kill two birds with one stone. You have to think about duality in that capacity when you're investing in those networking opportunities, those types of things. They have to contribute to your career, but also make you a better performer craft-wise in the process.
Okay, I'm gonna just like highlight what you just said of like that duality because I think uh when I talk with a lot of my clients who are performers, right? It's always about talking about the ROI of what you're getting. And it's not always like, I'm gonna spend money on this and then I'm gonna book this job.
Yeah.
So the ROI of it's gotta hit at least two things, right?
Yes.
Having two purposes rather than just, I want to sign up for this one-on-one class because
Yep.
I want to meet this person. And I think
Yep.
sometimes just that one track mind then leads to not a waste of money, but a lot of money not being spent as effectively as it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think that there's plenty of networking opportunities with major casting directors that I think are still worth your time. But one, you have to remember it starts to become a conversation of like, I'm not legally allowed to say those are you're auditioning for them, but essentially what you're doing is you're paying for them to become familiarized with your talent. Their opinion of your pieces is just one person's opinion and doesn't directly correlate to your ability to assimilate to the projects that they cast all the
Mm.
time, especially with the materials you're presenting when it's so ambiguous in that capacity.
Mhm.
Um, that being said, there's good networking done. Use your common sense. If you are going into one of those things, you are one track minded, it only fulfills the bill of professional networking, but not necessarily feedback on craft, then make sure you're carefully curating I keep saying curating, sorry. It's make sure you're carefully choosing materials that cater to the projects that the casting directors actually casting in that moment,
Mm.
while still maintaining authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest waste of money in the entertainment industry, or that
Yeah,
you've seen actors make?
I think that, and I've been thinking long and hard about this because we obviously had some kind of correspondence beforehand. So, um, I've been thinking like, what is universally recognized as a waste? And I don't know that there's a quick and dirty answer, but I'm going to give you some red flags.
Yeah.
Um, red flag. Someone telling you the amount of years of experience that they have, but all sounds like a little bit of white noise. If you're going to take a workshop with a very celebrated director, if they were very celebrated, they wouldn't need to tell you a lot of the time. Use your common sense when you're doing these workshops about who is directly connected to projects that are happening today.
Mm.
Um, Growing Studio used to have like a amazing audition series where you would be directly receiving feedback from creative teams that were involved in shows at that time. Like they had like a
Mhm.
Wicked workshop and a Book of Mormon workshop, and you would be working with like the resident directors and resident music supervisors at that time. And I found that to be so helpful because it was applicable in that moment.
Mhm.
There's a big trend of like, come take the Hadestown audition workshop with nobody directly involved in Hadestown. Or that's a placeholder. That's not a direct reference.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a big thing for like Waitress, even after Waitress closed. Things like that. I'm like, you're just receiving one person's opinion on materials that's not even directly involved in this project. Same thing
Mhm.
for plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing is education as a collective medium for theater is tough to justify on paper. I'm happy I went to college.
I've been
I'm
having lots
happy
of
I
thoughts
went
about
to
this. Glad you're bringing it up.
I'm happy I went to college. I'm happy I was a mess from somewhere from 18 to 22. If I was a mess at 18 in the city, they would have thrown me out. They would have burned me at the stake. But one second. My husband's texting me what I call back
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Um, but no, they would have kicked me out. So I think it's tough because I went to a college program that I don't feel like set me up for professional success.
Mhm.
However, what they passively did to a person with a very specific brain is made me fend for myself in a way that made it sustainable for me to pursue this. But I also knew right away that I had to sink or swim, and I had to swim because I had nobody supporting me otherwise. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people come out and they're no more knowledgeable about if they want to do this and how to do this than they were before they went in.
Mm.
If you are a young person listening to this, if you are 16, 17, thinking about college programs, think about you're going to learn craft no matter
Yeah.
what. No, obviously tiered and whatever, but think about the professional matriculation your program has to the professional community. And that doesn't mean proximity to city. Sometimes, like I'm looking at Missouri State's BFA in musical theater. I'm looking at CCM is in the middle of, the Midwest, UMich in the middle of the Midwest. Obviously, that doesn't correlate to this and that, but like it's think about, this theater program have an equity theater on campus? If you are a young person auditioning for summer stocks, and you are like, I want to do an equity stock so that I feel like I am getting matriculated into that community. Is it actually, if you're going to get paid 150 a week, which is criminal, by the way, that's, we exploit young artists, but that's a whole other conversation. If you're going to do that, is there a life for you with that theater after you're done that apprenticeship or that program, as opposed to doing a non-ex stock where you might get a bunch of flashy principles, but there isn't anything to do thereafter accordingly. It all varies for person based on your needs. I think the universal theme that everyone needs to kind of embrace is like, if you don't want to perform, there is plenty of careers in this industry that don't require you to perform. Don't waste your time with getting that degree and then letting it go, because you
Yeah.
feel like there's only commercial Broadway success.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff you're saying, like I just want to hammer home this ROI energy that you are giving to us today here of like thinking through what am I getting out of this long term, right? If I'm going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a degree, I want to make sure it's going to have some payoff, not just for the name, but what are all of those other things, even if it's not performing related, of like, I want the college experience of this
Yeah.
specific campus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. We all, AMDA is like such like a polarizing conversation. I actually think it's a great program because I think it's like the one that gets you the most. Probably the pendulum is swung the other way completely, in that they get you the most matriculated into auditioning,
Yeah.
regardless of what your medium is. They're the ones that like are like 2 years of like, let's set what is typing. They probably try to condense it in such a way that students feel compartmentalized sometimes in a way that they don't
Yeah.
want to. But ultimately, you know what it is you need to do in order to take the steps towards success. It's just like all of the other things that like I wish they could expand on, and they probably do in a 4 year setup.
Sure.
But some of those kids getting down to 19, that's young. That's young to kind of figure it out. Then I'm really starting to get acclimated to like people who just don't go to school, college formally,
Mm,
and they just kind of go right into BDC work programs that are like sustainable, to make sure that you're thinking about, okay, what is really good 8 times a week? What is pristine technique? And will a college program, while in their pursuit of a well-rounded education, be able to give me as much precision in
yeah.
dance, if that's your focus? It really just depends.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm so jealous of the people who didn't go to college for acting, where I'm like, ah, the stuff you don't have to unlearn. I wish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really, like, I sincerely mean it. I would go back to college if I could go back in time. I'd probably pursue a traditional BFA program. I went to a BA theater
Yeah.
program at a small state school that has no connections to anything, except for the students who obviously kind of rise above that. But like I did like kind of figuring out how to be an adult by myself. It was like
Mm,
entry to an adult 101, and that
yeah.
was very helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but I would also like advise anybody, like, know what you're getting into. I mean,
Mm.
also exploiting money, that whole thing, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So on that note, as we end out here today, I would love to know, because obviously there's so many conversations that we're having right now. You can't just have one conversation right about even school without talking about the student loan crisis, and then like
Yeah.
the capitalistic hellscape we're in, and then what
Sure.
that means for artistic industries, and the all the merger news right now with what's happening with Netflix and Warner Brothers and all of that.
Yeah.
It's all conjoined. So with all of that, I would love to know if there's any conversations that you're having with your clients, your friends, like your community about this, any I don't even want to say myths, but any narratives that you're hearing a lot, because I think it becomes a big echo chamber, especially on TikTok and Reels, of like, this is what's happening, or like, this is the new norm, or this is the doom and gloom. Is there anything you want to speak to or like dispel or touch on? I'm going to leave that vague if there's anything that comes to mind for you.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we're in the flop era. I think no, I think I have a 20-year-old brother who was a freshman when COVID hit, and this is the only way that I can kind of look at the world and compartmentalize the world without like, kind of succumbing to the overt um gloom feeling that
Mm,
this fever dream energy that we're all kind of presently in is that one, acting is accessible in a way that was before. We can live in the Midwest and audition. I have clients who live in Florida, Midwest, California, exclusively auditioning for New York projects in a way that wasn't accessible to them before, and a lifestyle that wasn't accessible to them before. So one, take advantage, as just going back to what I was saying before, take advantage of the ability to brand yourself, and that can be low to no cost to you in a way that you were never able to before. There are certain things that get compromised in the process, and unfortunately, I think in 20 years we're going to talk about the present as the wild west of like what artificial intelligence really, how that manifests itself into
mm,
day-to-day society, let alone entertainment. And I think what that will practically look like as it relates to media, I don't think we really know yet. And I think it's going to demand people who are way above our pay grade, holding themselves to a standard of the way that the modern digital world operates. Doesn't mean we can't demand better right now, and it doesn't mean we can't be worried right now. But what we can do is find solace in the idea that we are living in a renaissance of media,
mm.
and continue to hold each other accountable on their sources of information as we continue to process an ever-changing landscape.
Mm.
Um, as it relates to theater, more work is being produced because we are still coming out of accessibility of space post COVID. Um, and in that regard, more people are making Broadway debuts than they ever were.
Mm.
And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful to like help people in that pursuit. So just do what you can do on a day-to-day basis for now. Um, I think you phrased it well, and like it's a capitalistic hellscape, and we make sure you're not succumbing to the complete dread of what that entails as you just try to pursue a happy life for yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
I
I
also
like
think
that.
one other thing that I think is really important is you jumped into, regardless of where you're at, you're listening to this podcast, where you're at in your career. You wanted to come to New York, or you wanted to go somewhere, you wanted to pursue performing in some capacity. You already have the validation of doing this way better than almost everybody you know.
Mm.
You already have the affirmation of the industry. Don't look for the affirmation of the industry, because in some capacity, you've done that. Start pursuing projects, start pursuing craft that doesn't revolve around somebody saying yes, but rather than just like, this is the work I want to align myself with, because that desperation scans in the room. And I find that even meeting people on a regular basis who are like, oh, you're an agent, and the energy shifts. And I'm like, I don't vibe with that. I don't, I like talking to people, and I like this. This is great.
Yeah.
And I find that I do a lot better with people that can have a conversation with me that doesn't revolve around getting that yes.
Yes. Yes. I'm so glad you said that, because I also think, like, when we talk about money too, when you are financially anxious, right? And the jobs equal the money and you don't have the money stuff figured out. So it's like, oh, I get agent, I get jobs, money, I can pay
Yes.
rent, right? There is that desperation because it's a food, shelter, water thing, which is
Yeah.
artistically how we feel about our work too.
Yeah, no, the city sucks. So it's like it's one of those things where I know I jumped 4 stages ahead of what you're saying, but the city
Yep.
sucks. Like you want to pursue this, but you also need to pay your bills. I find that the people who are consistently ahead of the pack are the people who are able to find a way to make New York home and not a hub for work, for
Mm,
procuring that kind of gig. Consequently, finding jobs that are fiscally sustainable for
yeah.
yourself, and like in a way that doesn't deter from what you're doing at hand. So don't be afraid to
Right.
be resourceful in that capacity, which is a fucking annoying feedback when you're like, yeah, bitch, I'm trying. Like, you know, I mean, like, I get it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that too, like going back to what you were saying about branding, is if we're going to use that as the umbrella term of like understanding yourself and what you bring to the table as an artist, getting it on, like figuring all that out, getting it on tape, making connections with people, that's a long game, right? That doesn't happen in a weekend. And so that work, being free work that you can do with your own self and with the people in your community, it also requires time, right? So being able to, like, that sustainability, that longevity, the work that's actually going to get you booked is the stuff that's going to take a minute. And so being able to, yeah, find peace in that, find peace in your money, which is what we're all about here at Not Starving Artists, I think is the key.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think it's like, don't ever try to compare yourself to the BFA girl that booked Broadway at 22. That's her. That's not gonna be you, babes. That ain't gonna be me. That ain't gonna be any of us. So it's like,
22
just,
way in the past.
yeah,
She's
it's like
gone.
the past is in the past, baby. Like, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the last question I want to end on, I would just love to know, in the past couple of years, what is the best thing you've spent money on?
Oh, okay. I have a crazy one. Okay, one thing about me, I will go on a vacation. I will be comfy. I
Uh-huh.
will splurge for my convenience. I'm a man who will,
Uh-huh.
and I have an answer that's upcoming, and it is the most it is gonna sound so like, oh, I don't know if I should say that. I'm going to Disneyland on the
Uh-huh.
20th,
Oh my God.
and I paid for the VIP thing so that like I can skip all the lines. I paid for the like
Yes.
the VIP thing. And to skip
Yeah.
all of the lines.
Okay, but let me say, I've been hearing all the TikTok chit chat about the app and how it's kind of made things so confusing and whatever. Like, I actually think the VIP is probably
I
the
get some
best.
dude for a whole day that I'm gonna be like, sister, can we just like, and they're gonna be like, yeah, and I'm gonna like wave at people and be like, sorry, girl, like you're gonna have to wait another minute. It's the craziest thing I've ever done in my entire, like, fully have bought homes and like my home, not homes plural, but I bought my home and my car and like all proud, yeah, I did it. Like I don't have a mortgage anymore. Like, yeah, I love my life,
Yeah.
but like I'm going to fucking Disneyland and I'm so excited about what that looks like. So.
Yes. Like
But
living in pure luxury. This is my man.
no, this is, I'm truly like Kevin McAllister riding in the limo with the pizza, being like, I did it. Like,
Oh
I'm okay.
God, that
Yeah.
is so incredible. Well, congrats on that. I'm so
Thank
excited for you
thank
to
you.
get to look forward to that. Thank you for sharing that with everyone. And this is also, I want to even just plug this here of like, everyone's values of what they want to spend money on is going to be so different. There's going to be a ton of people who are like, that's my dream when they hear you say that. And there's going to be a bunch of people who
There
are
are
like,
people who are
literally,
like,
why?
do you have a 401k? You're gonna be like, what?
You're like, I got my guy though. I got the
Yeah, I'm
VIP.
good. My husband's got all that figured out. Yeah. Um,
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today. I appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your insight. It's been an incredible conversation that I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of.
cool. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you for having me. And if you need anything else, let me know. You guys have my socials. Like, it's fine.
Oh, yes. Can you tell people if they want to follow along and find you on social media or any other places, can you let them know where to find you?
Yeah, I can. I'm
Looking
terrified.
up the
So like,
handle right now.
what's my shit? Yeah. At Brian K. Herrick and at House Kitchen Agency.
Awesome. You heard that. Go give them a follow.
Okay, yeah, no, truly, we need it. Cool. All right. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is at Not Starving Artists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.